Hey lovelies, it's Kate. Welcome back to another speed build. I decided to build an island-themed mansion on a 50 by 50 lot in Sulani. I built this house on the 50 by 50 lot in the back of the map on the right side. Originally there's a shipwreck on this lot. I just bulldozed it and started to build. And here, as you can see, I placed a floor piece and then many rocks. And what I did was I placed these round rocks to have a guideline for this object here. And this is the Spade Stony Goodness slab. It's an object that is originally supposed to be placed on top of a water surface. And I just used it to create a round shape. In case you are not new here, you already know what I'm doing here. I really like to work with round shapes. I really enjoy to work with round shapes, and I like to use this object or the pristine pedestal, which is part of Get Famous, and the rock is just a perfect guideline. And I have laid out my round shape this way, and I have a beautiful shape, exactly what I was going for, not wonky or anything, it's just perfect. And then I started to delete the floor in the center, and this way I was able to build a pool underneath. And this was my vision for this build. I knew that I would like to create this water landscape, and this was kind of the eye catch and the main feature of this build. And then I built the house in the back of the lot. So I'm going to work on the landscaping first, and then later on I'm going to start working on the house. So this was my main focus at this point. And here I'm using an island living debug object, and I wanted to have this curved path, but I wanted this to look really natural. I really wanted to stay within the whole island theme, and I figured it would be perfect to use this object. As I said, you can find it in the debug menu, and it's part of island living, so you have to own the pack to use this object. And I made sure that it's all functional. Luckily, this object is basically non-existent to your Sims, so they just walk through it, and this way I was able to create this path. I just deleted the excess floor tiles on the sides, so in the center there are still floor tiles, otherwise it wouldn't be functional. So if you try to replicate this, make sure that you don't have any gaps in the center. When you delete the floor pieces at the edge, you don't want to get rid of all the floor pieces. Of course, you need the actual path, which consists of your floor tiles, and the little wood piece that is part of island living is just a decorative object basically. And many of the debug objects, especially the objects that we got in the update with the bb.show live edit objects sheet, these are basically invisible to your Sims. They don't have a footprint or something, and your Sims are going to walk through it, which can be annoying, but also a really good thing. It can be annoying when you just do some landscaping and you want to place some rocks in the front of the house, for example, as some type of fence or barrier, and then your Sims are just walking straight through it. This can be annoying, and in this case you would have to place a fence inside your rock, so there is some type of barrier. But here in this case it was just perfect, because otherwise my little curved path above the water wouldn't be functional. Then I used this round floor piece that I placed earlier to create this little island on the water surface, and I had no idea what to do with this. I just decided to place palm trees in the center, and I used so many palm trees and bushes and flowers for this. I really wanted this to look really tropical, happy, and just really tropical. I mean, it's an island build, and I wanted this to just be really beautiful and tropical. So I placed the palm trees in the center. I used the pristine pedestal to have this round shape in the center. And then I used another island living object right in front of the pristine pedestal. It's supposed to be a roof decoration, but I just used it just for this curved shape. And then I decided to add another floor piece in front of the round floor piece, like another small island, and then I used these island living debug rocks, and once again your Sims can just walk through them. I decided to place some lounge chairs on top, and this way I just have this really natural looking island where Sims can hang out, sunbathe, and it's just beautiful. And once again, this object is basically invisible to your Sims, and they are just walking right through it, which is amazing. So just like the curved path that I created, it works out, it's fully functional, and I was really happy about that. I showed this off in the beginning of the video because I wanted you guys to know that it's really functional, because sometimes when you're building stuff like this, you're wondering, does it actually work? Is it functional? And I, of course, want this to be functional, because when you place an object like a lounge chair, for example, it should be functional. I mean, there are many decorative aspects in my build, but stuff like this should totally work. And I just built a room at the bottom, so this is like some type of underwater room, and when you're down there you can just peek into the pool or the pond, whatever it actually is. And then I started to work on the actual pool. I wanted this pool to really stand out, which is why I built it like this. I used a debug foundation that creates the illusion of a glass pool. And there's a big difference between using this foundation or one of the windows that are just part of the game, because there's no window in this game that achieves this look. It looks like one seamless big glass pane. It's just beautiful, it's seamless, and it just doesn't look like a window at all. And you can create a pool that almost looks like a infinity pool, for example. There are CC windows out there that achieve this look, but if you're not into using CC, and I don't use any CC at all, for example, then this is just perfect. And I wanted this pool to have a different look and color, because in the front I have my water landscape, and this was kind of the eye catcher for me. And this whole landscape looks really tropical, almost natural in some areas, because I included these rocks. And then I wanted to have this pool that has a darker color. It looks really modern, and we have this this really minimalistic look and the darker color. This is like some of the pools that you see in Bali when you are looking at pictures of some resorts, hotels and all that. They have pools that have like a really dark color, like the tiles at the bottom and the walls are much darker than your average pool, I'd say. And I was going for this look, and I just wanted this to stand out. And the cool thing is, this foundation was originally part of City Living. So back then, back in the day, after City Living came out, you could build this pool by just using the City Living debug foundation. But then one day we received a patch for the base game, and they gave us this foundation. So now it's part of both the base game and City Living. So if you don't own City Living, you can just use the base game and you can build this beautiful foundation. Just make sure to activate the BB show hidden objects cheat. I've also made tutorials about this, both for the City Living version and then later on also for the base game version. And yeah, you can check this out if you just need some help with this. And here at this point, I'm decorating a lot of stuff. I used one of the glass floors that is also part of Island Living, and then I placed some debug rocks on top right in front of the pool area and my little sunbathing island. And once again, it does not block the path of your Sims, and it just looks so beautiful. And later on, I'm going to use these rocks for the build itself. I rotated them using the tool mod, and you will later on see what I did with these rocks. And a little disclaimer once again, I like to use the tool mod in my builds, but this does not affect the gallery upload, so it's still completely unmodded in the gallery, and you can just grab this build from the gallery if you would like to. You don't need the mod. I keep all my builds CC free and unmodded, so anyone can just use them and grab them from the gallery. So even when I'm using a mod like this one, I make sure that it's unmodded in the gallery first. And here I expanded the area on the right side. At first I wanted to have just another part of the house there, like originally in the very beginning, but then I decided against this, and I just wanted to have some type of patio area there. And the house itself is super minimalistic for my standards, at least. You guys know that I really like to go overboard, and I think I did this with the whole landscaping here and the whole water landscape. I ran totally overboard and I used a lot of objects, but the house itself, I wanted the house to be very modern and minimalistic. I know that some of you are going to tell me that it's not truly minimalistic, and you are probably totally right, but I did my best both for the exterior and interior. The reason for that was I wanted to have a modern build, and I wanted to have a little contrast between the house and the landscaping, and I also wanted to tone it down a bit, because when you look at the landscaping, it's a bit much, but not in a bad way, hopefully. And I just went all out on the landscaping. And then I thought, okay, if you are building a house that is just as detailed, then the landscaping is not going to stand out. And maybe I just have to build a beautiful minimalistic modern mansion. And I just hope that this plan kind of worked out. I also decided to use a lot of dark colors, which I usually wouldn't do for a modern build probably. We have all these dark black rocks because it's like volcanic rock, and then we have this floor that is also in the same kind of style. It has the same color and pattern, so it's just supposed to mimic this kind of rock. And I was just going for it. Like this time I really wanted to build an island build that has this color scheme and just this feel to it, not the typical tropical super wooden build. I mean, I've built many of these. I've also created a couple of modern island builds before, but I was always going for a lot of wood and just really tropical and warm toned, and here I was just going for a completely different look. And I think the shape of the house itself is quite basic compared to other modern builds that I've created. I didn't want to include lots of round shapes, for example, just small features that made the build interesting. As I said, I'm going to do some magic with the rocks, and hopefully you guys are going to like it. And I also added a couple of walls on the left side, as you can see, and I'm going to get rid of this completely because I decided that I want to open this area up so it's just like some type of terrace, some type of patio area, and that I did the same at the top. And I also got rid of this at the top. I just left these diagonal walls at the bottom. As I said, I wanted this build to look interesting, even though it's quite basic. I also changed the color of the stony goodness slab for the pool. I then added some waterfalls, and I also removed them later on. So this was kind of a process. I added a lot of stuff, and in the process I changed a lot of colors. Here, for example, I just added this very dark wall color. That is, of course, also part of island living. But then I decided to change the color later on because this is where I'm going to place the rocks on the wall, and the rocks are black, and I of course wanted them to be really visible. I wanted them to stand out, so I just changed the wall color to plain white later on. I generally try to hold myself back. I wanted to add some wood to the walls at some point, and I thought, okay, just really hold yourself back. God's not going to be minimalistic. I created one mansion once that was like super white and bright and kind of minimalistic, and here I really had to hold myself back, and I thought, okay, stay strong. You got this. You have a vision for this build, and I hope it kind of worked out. Also, in case you noticed, on the left side at some point there was a bridge and then it was gone. This is also why I didn't include this part of the footage, because I got rid of it, because here I'm rebuilding it. So in the beginning I built a really basic bridge and I didn't like that, and I just deleted it. And then I wanted to build a bridge that has the exact same look as the curved path that I built in the beginning. I again used this island living debug object, and I wanted to create my curve. This was a bit tricky. I had to find the correct position. For some reason, when you place it on a floor, it's like too high, so you have to place it on the floor below, and then you just raise it by pressing 9. And I had to do this here. I just had to find the correct position. Then it was a bit too high, which isn't a problem because, as I said, it does not affect your Sims. But when it's a bit too high, it looks weird because then your Sims ankles are like completely hidden inside the object. I mean, the feet are a bit hidden inside it, but you don't want it to be too high. Just find the sweet spot if you try to replicate this. And then I just did the same that I did earlier. I just removed more floor tiles on the outside, and I just had to make sure that it all works and that it's functional. I'm also going to include the footage of the sim actually using this bridge in a second, but I have to admit I was running into a couple of problems here at first, and the bridge itself wasn't the problem because, I mean, this already worked in the beginning. This is like really simple. The problem was my whole area at the bottom, like the round island. I had to change the position of the debug object that I used in the center. Like underneath all these palm trees, in the center of the round island, there is a debug object. It's like a grass patch. It's like a flower bed. It's completely circular. It's part of the base game. And I just had to change the position a little bit, and then it was all functional. And then I decorated the area with a lot of palm trees, flowers. I added some carrots to the whole water landscape. I added these debug plants. I don't even know if they are really legitimately debug plants, so if you find them like in the regular build menu. I didn't even check, but I just wanted to have a bit of color. And then I added these rocks to the wall, and then I noticed that they don't stand out. Here, as I said, as I just mentioned, I wanted to add some wood, but I stayed strong and I changed this to white. And I used the wonderful tool mod by Twisted Maxi to rotate these rocks because they are just flat on the ground by default, and I figured it would be just a little bit of something extra special because I wanted to keep it simple, but then at the same time I just had to add something that stands out to the build a little bit because I don't know, the whole landscaping is so crazy, and as I said, I wanted to have this contrast. I wanted to have a house so the whole thing is not too overwhelming, but I thought, okay, if the house is too boring, then the contrast might be too strong, maybe. I don't know. And then I added the spotty lighting stripe as always, so I just have a little border between my different floor tile colors. I really like to do that, especially for modern builds. Really beautiful. And at this point I'm just decorating. I've built the house, I've created all the landscaping, and I was really close to finally furnishing this house. Just some last touches, basically a couple of decorations. I mean, sometimes at this point, like, I could keep going forever. Like, I really have to hold myself back at some point because I could just change stuff all over again. I could just change colors, add more stuff, remove stuff, and at some point I just have to tell myself, okay, I'm done, that's it, or it's too much, or you just destroy the whole house basically. And I added these island living glass floors to the exterior just to have another bit of decoration, and then eventually I got rid of the ones at the bottom, the white ones right above the pool, because they still haven't fixed the glitch that just makes your floors completely translucent. So as soon as I added them, I was noticing that the floor that the whole floor piece that I built in the beginning, that I used to create the round shape so I could build the pool underneath, this whole object was just disappearing. It was completely translucent when I was just panning my camera around. And this is a glitch that we had to deal with ever since Island Living came out, and this object is causing this issue sometimes, and sometimes it even happens without this object, and I just removed the ones at the bottom. It was just too much of a hassle to deal with, because sometimes, I mean, if it's like really crucial for the look of your build, then I'd say, okay, just bring it into another position, find a workaround, or maybe delete it, then finish the build and just place it there and just pray that it works, but most of the time it doesn't. It's just like a weird glitch, and I just hope that maybe at some point it can be fixed. I don't know. And here I'm working on the interior, and for the interior I also used a lot of white and black because I really wanted to have this kind of minimalistic look. I just wanted to have a small pop of color, so I used an Island Living rug, and these pictures in the wall, the paintings, they are part of Tiny Living, so I have a little bit of green and blue here and there, which probably makes a lot of sense because it's a tropical build, and the rest of the house is like really clean and minimalistic, so the interior has the same look as the exterior, and the house itself isn't that big. I mean, it's a 50 by 50 lot, as I said earlier, and when you just think of the whole landscaping and how much space I actually used for the landscaping, I guess it totally makes sense that I just have a slightly smaller house. I still managed to squeeze 5 bedrooms into this build. I mean, squeeze sounds a bit negative. They they are fine. They are not too small. I managed to add cupboards and all that, just anything a Sims would need. And one of the bedrooms is at the bottom in the underwater area, so this is like probably the master bedroom. It's just stunning, and I placed the bed in a way so the Sims can just look into the pool or into the pond. You will see what I'm talking about in a second. It turned out really beautiful in my opinion. And at the top I just have 4 regular bedrooms, 2 normal bedrooms for grown-ups and 2 kids rooms. And then I also squeezed in, and in this case it's the correct word for this, I squeezed in a home gym. It's really small, so I really had to try to just squeeze it in there. This is one of the bedrooms. I really love how this one turned out. The floor is a carpet that is part of Dine Out, I think. I've never used it before, not that I can remember. And I think it's so beautiful, especially in combination with this and a living rug. It's like super monochrome, and I just like a really muted color palette, but it's like so beautiful in my opinion. And same goes for this room. The bedrooms are really simple, and they have this very clean look, and especially the colors, but they still look so beautiful. For some reason I just managed to pick out the correct colors in my opinion. This doesn't always work out for the interior, but I really like how these quite simple and smallish bedrooms turned out. Really beautiful. And this is one of the kids' rooms, also really modern, and this can be a struggle, but also I don't know, I was just on a roll when I furnished these bedrooms in my opinion. I don't want to toot my own horn, and I said this before, I don't consider myself to be a master interior designer at all. I always do my best, and I used to play with CC before I started YouTube, and there was a huge learning curve for me to just furnish with what the game has to offer. So I'm definitely not an expert, but here I was just super pleased with the color schemes. I don't know, it just came along so nicely. Here for this kids room, for example, I used this orange and it just went so well with the gray, and I placed some small paintings right at the bookshelf. I don't know, but I just had this idea and I think it turned out quite cute. And then I started to work on the underwater area. We have the bedroom here, and as you can see I placed the bed right in front of the windows. Then I added some really colorful paintings to the hallway. And then we just have another living room down there basically. I just wanted to create an area where Sims can hang out. I mean, the whole house isn't that big, as I said, so I really wanted to use this space to create another living room, so there would be enough space for Sims to hang out, maybe if you have a party or anything. And once again I used a lot of white and black, and I really fell in love with this and a living rug. I think I've never really used it before probably. And this is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Here you can see some screenshots of the house, and you can find this build in the gallery, fully furnished as always, no CC, unmodded, and you can just grab it and let your Sims move in. And if you should do that, thank you for using my house, and I hope that your Sims will enjoy this house. And of course, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a perfect week, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye.